a lot of couples are going from traditional monogamy, which is two partners who are in a committed relationship with each other only. That is the definition of monogamy, right?
Yeah.
Traditional monogamy. They're going from that to modern monogamy. And modern monogamy is a very different thing. Even though it has the word monogamy in it, it means you consider your relationship, even though you're with one person, to be seasonal.
Seasonal?
Seasonal. That it doesn't have to last forever. It could just last as long as it lasts. And then when it's over, you consider it a great relationship and you don't define it as a success just because it lasted a long time, or you don't define it as a failure because it ended. You just accept the fact that you're in this relationship, you're committed to this person, and it goes on as long as you two want it to go on. To me, it's kind of like...
I'm confused. Traditional monogamy is exactly what you're saying, and when you break up, it's over. That's still traditional monogamy.
Well, modern monogamy is when you enter into the relationship knowing that you have to really be active in the relationship every single day. It's kind of like the vibe I'm getting from modern monogamy is like a Goldie Hawn and
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Where they say we're never getting married because every single day we wake up and we choose to be with this partner. It makes you. They believe Goldie and Kurt Russell believe that it's every day you are actively choosing your partner, and that is modern monogamy.
So it's not forcing the relationship to work.
Exactly.
So basically, if you're in a marriage, you're forcing it but the only thing I would say about that, and I'm not all for regular, I mean, people can do whatever they want.
Jason here for not monogamy.
No.
I'm
Well,
just
just
kidding.
saying.
I'm
that
just
polygamy.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, that person's not here.
Oh, boy.
Just kidding.
Oh, boy.
Right.
Well, that's what they said at the play last night.
They did. They did.
mention
Yes,
that.
they did.
No, but the only thing I see about that is that for instance, if you practice the modern monogamy, it probably makes the chances of a long-term relationship more risky. Because what could happen is if all of a sudden you're like, I'm not feeling it for the next couple weeks, and you go off and it kind of is over, you're not like forced. First say is, no, I got to be faithful. And then all of a sudden, sometimes in a couple of weeks, things resolve.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're back together again. If those couple of weeks, you're just like, not forcing it. And all of a sudden, it's not.
And you break up.
Whatever. Then it ruins the chances of long-term relationships.
Yeah, I definitely think that is a downfall for sure of modern monogamy. I think, though, that it's because people are realizing that a lot of marriages are ending and that people how many, I don't know what the stats are of how many people are getting married still these days.
It's less.
But it's less than it's ever been.
It's older too.
And so that traditional idea of marriage and monogamy is it's just sort of evolving to how people are living their lives anyway.
Well, who said that humans were supposed to be monogamous?
Well, they say it in the Bible.
The Bible.
The Bible says it, yeah.
Oh, well.
If you live
less
by.
evidence then.
Yes. A man and a
Because,
woman.
I mean, there's a whole world, and not everybody follows the Bible.
I agree.
And, a lot of countries for sure, without a doubt. Most, actually, countries believe in like a family-type structure and relationship with one person. And there is, even if you look at, like, sometimes even with animals, you'll see that type of thing at times where they're jealous if somebody else is with somebody else. Weird, right? And I don't know if that's developed from a social aspect or how did that develop where if you're with somebody and you're married to somebody and that person goes off and cheats on you, all of a sudden you're jealous and mad. You see what I'm saying? Like, what did that was that developed socially or is that instinct? Who knows?
Well, it's also, I think, some in that situation, if somebody's cheating, there's also a perversion to the vows that you've taken or a
But vows can be
perversion,
different in
but,
every country.
I feel like the marriage vows are all pretty similar, aren't they?
There's as an ordained reverend.
Yes, Matt, please. And Jason, your best friend's a pastor, so I feel like you should know this, but I guess not.
Thank you, Katie.
We're not there yet.
Oh yeah. Thank you for calling him my best friend.
But yes, Matt, Reverend Matt.
There are some fairly standard vows. I mean, people will write their own and kind of make their own, but they all follow a very similar structure. As in, I I'm going to, regardless of what happens, the good or the bad, we'll take it together because I'm vowing that regardless, I'm with you, and that's it. So it's similar. There's variations of it, but it is similar.
But in different countries, there's multiple wives and things like that. Even here, really. But there's multiple wives in the country. It is different. I guess not most, per se. Most is probably a family structure. If you go to Mexico and Canada and Europe, it's typically that type of a family structure. But the problem is, so the divorce rate probably is like half, right? Right now. Maybe it's a little bit better. But the issue is I always believe that if you really love somebody, you don't need the title of marriage. But now I'm seeing that at times where I think, well, because you have that title in the situation you're in, even though you might not want to be together at that particular time sometimes heals a lot. And if you're making less mistakes during the healing time, let's say it's that month, or you're going through the roller coaster of life.
The ebbs and flows,
right,
for sure.
And you did something because you weren't married, and it doesn't matter, the chances of staying together with family is less.
Yeah.
So it's probably more of a breakup to the traditional family if you don't have that label.
I think that you just said something. You were for modern monogamy before modern monogamy was a thing.
I don't
I was
know.
going to say the same thing.
Yeah, because you're what you're saying,
No,
what you're
not
describing.
necessarily.
Well, but what you're describing, because modern monogamy, by the way, is not just because we're not married, you get to go and cheat.
But it's let's just end it.
It could be,
Right.
but modern monogamy means this. It's not, you're not forcing the relationship to work. It's not about forcing or trapping or guilting someone into a single relationship. It also means, modern monogamy means that you don't just let your relationship go on autopilot, which I think a lot of married couples will say.
That's true.
We get into the mundane, we're in the routine, we're in the years where it's not about us, it's about our family. And modern monogamy is saying, no, relationship first, because that's the foundation, and then everything else can fall into place.
True, except for the part that if things are going bad, it just kind of fizzles out, and that's the way it is. That's the problem. I can see that being a problem because, again, time for so many people, since I've even known, from parents to family to older couples to other people, including people that I would know currently. Time, and when they look back of it, was like, well, why did I react that way?
Because we get all up in our emotions.
And then talk about the pastor thing, which he did some kind of couples thing, which he did these live vows, and I'm like, ooh, we really are committing to a lot, way more than the traditional vows that you and Matt just talked about. You're talking about things you never foreseen, good and bad vows, and that's really how a relationship works. And to go through all that, if you were in this modern monogamy, you're never going to survive some of the things that get thrown at you at times because you're not giving it the time to heal.
I think that you maybe in modern monogamy you could be more committed because you actively want to be there.
It's possible. I don't know. It would be interesting.
And they're not just staying together because a piece of paper is holding them together.
But it's a different level. I think the vows shouldn't be the traditional vows. I think you have to state that, because there's some horrible things that's going to happen in everybody's lives that you're going to have to go through. Life is not always pretty. And there's some really great things, too.
Well, since we've now defined what modern monogamy is and what it means, we're going to tell you what modern monogamy is not. And I think this might change some people's views on whether they want to be in a traditional relationship or a modern monogamy relationship. I'll tell you what modern monogamy does not mean coming up. We were just talking about modern monogamy and how a lot of couples are going from traditional monogamy, which is me and you in this relationship, just the two of us forever for the long haul, to modern monogamy, which is basically saying every day I'm waking up and I'm choosing to be in this relationship with you. And you're not going to look at that relationship.
You're not forcing it.
You're not forcing it. And you're also, let's just say it doesn't work out and you end things, you don't look at it as a failure.
Because I think comes and goes.
It just comes and goes. And it was a great time. It was a great season, if you will, of your life. People like to say that.
Wow, yeah, I just learned about that.
The season of your life.
Yeah.
And so you say, great season. Loved it. Was perfect for the time. Then we moved on. And you don't view it as, well, that relationship didn't work out. Modern monogamy, though, does not mean a few things. A lot of people will hear modern monogamy and they'll think, oh, well, that means I'm out the second that it gets hard. Modern monogamy does not mean that. Modern monogamy means that it's dealing with the issues that exist. And so you're actively, I keep using the word actively because you really have to participate. You have to say every single day, I want this. I want this person in my life, and I want it to be a good relationship.
So it's similar to a marriage, just without the title and the officialness of being married.
But a lot of people, it's true, right? We hear people say, well, we're just in the mundane part of our marriage. It's because, well, we're just married. They have to love me. And so you're not always trying to be your best version.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you think about it, this is what the craziest part of everything is.
Yes.
When you've been married for a while, and especially if you're a guy or something, and like you want to sexually, you want to do what?
Nothing. I feel like I know where you're going.
You want to do certain things, and you like this and like that, right?
Yeah.
And you might not always get. Well, a lot of times, many times, I'm sure you don't get exactly what you want or the effort put into that. Yet, if that same person just started dating somebody else and they were already sexual, they're doing all kinds of stuff they wouldn't have done with you probably at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's like your own person that you're married to. You're not going to give that person that, but somebody new. You give them everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's messed up.
Yeah, like it sounds like modern monogamy is like great in theory, but I feel like if you tried it, you would kind of just be going through like the honeymoons. You would go through the honeymoon season, and then you'd be like, all right, I'm done, I'm bored, on to the next one, and kind of like keeping the same like fire that you're talking about,
without making the commitment.
Yeah, because the fire, that's the big thing too. So when you're in a relationship, it's so easy more than ever, especially a long-term relationship and a marriage, that fire goes out. And it takes effort to keep it there. And when you don't have both people putting in effort to keep that fire there, it can start being miserable. It really can, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I can imagine. I don't.
Right. No, I'm just saying. I mean, it's like if you're not gonna, no matter how many years, anything, you got to put in the effort to make it happen. And if you don't, and it's one-sided, it's terrible and it can be miserable. And then that one person's like probably thinking, oh my gosh, remember when we used to first start dating, or I used to first be in a relationship, that feeling of being together and the closeness, the connectedness, the bond,
the butterflies.
That's what I think leads to cheating, and that's what I think leads to divorce. Is that?
Well, and cheating, that is a big thing for modern monogamy. It does not mean that you're always looking for something or someone better, because that's another thought. People say, well, modern monogamy, you're just looking for the next best thing. Nope, you realize you have a really great thing and you have to nurture it. It also means modern monogamy does not mean making your partner feel like they're on probation. And it's interesting because I had this conversation with my hairstylist, and I hope she doesn't mind me sharing. I won't use any names. But she was saying that her husband had a previous relationship where they didn't want to do the do. You know, and eventually that marriage ended and they moved on, right?
What do you mean they didn't want to? They both didn't?
Well, I think it was primarily she didn't want to. And so that was one of their issues.
Yeah,
she just never wanted to. And my hairstylist and I were saying, now that she's in this relationship with this man, he'll sometimes carry that over and will say things like, well, I guess I'll just let you off the hook tonight. I won't try to, have sex. She said, don't say that to me. I'm not on the hook. I want to be with you.
Because he's used to his previous relationship.
Right. And so he just maybe naturally, it's not his fault, but maybe he just naturally assumes that every woman's like that. And she said, I'm not on the hook. I want to be with you. I want to do the things that partners do. I'm not on the hook. I'm here. And we were saying,
he's probably fearing that that's going to go in that direction because of his experience.
Yeah. Well, and it's not very often, maybe to you guys, but in my group of girlfriends, most of my girlfriends say they do enjoy sexy time.
I'm sure.
They do enjoy it, and
not
they
as
do
much
want
probably
to. Probably not every waking moment the way you guys do.
Well, but any minute. Guys are probably every single day if they want. But what do you think the average, and be honest, the average of you and your friends probably sexy time is, I don't know, per week, per month, whatever?
Oh, I would say probably, just based on what I know in my own life, I would say 3 times a week, I'll say. 3 times a week on average.
And you're not lying.
I'm not lying.
And do you think that's...
Sometimes it is way more. depending on what we have. For me, I'll just speak personally. Sometimes it's way more for
Hi, Mom.
like what we
Just
have.
kidding.
That's okay. I talk openly with my mother about this too. She doesn't care. I think she's glad that it's a healthy relationship, you know? But yeah, 3 times. And then it's like if I'm going out of town or Ben's going to be gone for a while or we know we're having guests or whatever, then it's way more because we want to. And then other times we just, other things are going on in our life and maybe it's fewer times, but definitely.
And so you're
3,
saying it's definitely
solid 3,
if not more.
Yeah.
I have led to believe that you're lying.
Oh, see, that's
what I've been
just
led
not
to believe.
right.
Honestly, like I'm the fool. It's like, no, that's not the truth.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe every relationship's different. But I was just thinking, I don't think on average probably 3 to 4 times a week for women is traditional. It's probably less.
Is that Matt? Do you mind me asking?
I don't mind.
Okay.
We're probably about that same number.
Yeah.
Again, it can be more depending on what's going on. It can be less depending on different situations. But I will say that frequency is not something that me and my friends like discuss.
Yeah, I can't.
We don't like get together to have a cookout or watch a football game. Like, so how many times did you get it last week? So I can't even begin to speculate the number for them.
Yeah.
So I would only know for myself. But yeah, it's definitely more now that I've lost weight. Because when I was at my heaviest, I didn't have the energy to do it. And it would get to the end of the day and I was just like, all I have the energy to do is lay in bed and shut my eyes.
Yeah.
And so now I have more of a drive. So
which is crazy because usually it would be that you would think the opposite. It would be you always have the drive and she doesn't always have the drive.
Right.
But see, that right there is something that I think is a cliche that men will. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. I don't think men are as eager or as willing to admit that they're tired or that they don't want it as often as their friends do. I don't think a lot of men are going to admit that.
I agree that, but I do believe most men want it more than their wives.
Yeah,
overall.
I think so. But it's the same. It's just men are not. That's not something that they're going to let their guy friends know. Because in your mind, you should be like, well, no, you always want it. You always do.
When I was at my heaviest, I never would have admitted that. But now I feel more comfortable doing that because but it was a health thing. My health, my weight was bringing my drive, my testosterone, everything down. And I would have conversations with my wife once every 2 or 3 months with her saying, I wish you were more into it. I wish you would initiate. I wish you would make me feel like you actually wanted it more than you do. And it was even hard for me just with her.
And how many times was that? At that point, how many times?
1, maybe.
Okay.
Because I didn't have working early in the morning, working all day, doing this, then having a 4-year-old.
Yes.
And it's just, it was a lot. And so I was so physically drained. Wasn't sleeping well.
But now that you lost the weight.
But I've lost the weight, so that has improved massively. But we would have conversations where she was like, I don't feel like you even want it at all sometimes. And it was even hard for me just with the two of us in the privacy of our own bedroom for me to be like, yeah, it's a physical thing. I just wanted to, I tried to make it like, no, I do. I wonder, are you going to shut me down or whatever? But losing the weight improved it instantly.
Matt,
and as soon as I started,
such a loser.
I felt like that. Trust me, I felt like it because anytime I would be like, oh yeah, she'll tell me no, blah blah blah, and she would be like, that's not the case because I wish you would try it more often.
Yeah.
But now that I do, she's like, I can tell. She said the moment you started losing weight, I could tell because I was more interested. I would try to, say more things if she were getting out of the shower. I would be more into her walking by me with just her towel or something like that.
Yeah, man.
More
Hell yeah.
handsy.
You walk by her
absolutely.
and whack on the butt.
Yeah.
By
I
the
get more
way,
into that. And she was like, all right, she's glad because for so long that wasn't there at all. That now that it is, she's like, oh yeah, I like this. Yeah.
I'm very thankful that you just shared that because so many more men than. Because women talk about that sort of thing. They'll say, I don't know why he doesn't want it. And I know.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you, these are the things that we're talking about. And even for my own husband, and I don't think he'll mind, but he was having some thyroid issues that we didn't even know were a thing for him. No idea. Till he went to the doctor and the doctor said, that his thyroid was messing with all of his hormones.
Yeah.
So how long was Ben having ED for?
He was not having ED. he was not. You would know.
No, I don't. If anything, it's made it more.
Well, that's good. But the second that he went on his thyroid medicine, I saw a difference. And it was the handsy. It was the wanting to do it all the time.
So in that time, you're the one that was instigating it more?
I felt like I was definitely instigating it more, or at least yearning for it. Maybe I don't think I always talked about it, but we didn't know what was going on. And so a lot more men than women will not go to the doctor.
No.
They don't know that something's wrong, or they know something's wrong, but they don't want to find out. And it could be as simple as going and starting a medication that makes you feel 1,000 times better.
Do you know that you know what a sexless marriage is?
Where you're not doing it at all.
Sounds like
It's not. It's not. Do you know what
is it?
The sexless marriage is defined by only doing it 10 times or less a year. So even if you're doing it 10 times
I can see that.
or less, that's considered sexless.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that crazy?
Is this less than once a month?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
sounds,
but
Wow.
still, you're still doing it within the year. That's
Sexless.
Sexless marriage. That's the definition of it.
Wow.
Man.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thankful that you shared that, Matt, because a
Yeah.
lot of people, I bet you're going to hear from a lot of people who say that they are going through that too.
Well, and
Because it takes a lot to admit.
I would say if you are going through that, then because even talking to a doctor about that, I'm like, I'm not telling them I don't
See?
want to have sex.
Yes.
You kidding me? I don't want to seem like a loser.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, just bring it up because you're right. There's medications that you can get on instantly that will make a world of difference. But weight is really attached to your drive,
Yeah.
big time.
And it's also that is something that I think men and women can have, or they do have in common, that if we just talked about it, is that women are on all sorts of hormones, or our hormones are changing all the time as you age, or no matter what your age is, and they don't know why they feel the way that they feel.
Yeah,
But you just do because it's your hormones.
yeah,
So
exactly.
here we are solving all the world's problems, really. I don't know how we do it.